Arkham Horror, The Terror Out of Time, issue number 1 from Dark Horse Comics. So this is a series based off of the Arkham Horror tabletop game, which itself is based off of the Cthulhu mythos and Lovecraft stories and stuff. So of course I had to check it out because I freaking love Lovecraft stories. I love the Cthulhu mythos. And yeah, basically the story is about this woman named Jenny. She has a sister named Izzie, and she's telling the story to this detective named Joe Diamond. And the story is about how they were like at this party, and her sister wanted to introduce her to some people, and somehow her sister got involved with this cult and has gone missing. And she mentions how she saw like visions of monsters and people in robes and stuff. And the story that she's telling is that there's this woman named Abigail. She's a very influential person, high society, and she also happens to be the high priestess of this dangerous religious order, basically a cult. Her husband is involved, her son is involved, and somehow that group was able to steal a family heirloom as well as kidnap Izzie. They tried to do some kind of ritual using the family heirloom, and they tried to use Izzie as a sacrifice. Something went wrong, some kind of monsters came from this, and she has no idea where any of these people are anymore. And so Joe Diamond is like, okay, well, that's weird. Your story is a whopper of a story, but you believe it, so I'm willing to look into this for you. But Jenny refuses to let him do this on his own. She wants to be involved. She can't just sit around and do nothing while her sister's missing. So Joe's like, all right, you can come along, but you have to follow my lead. Like, I'm the one who's going to be taking charge in this case. And Jenny's like, okay. And so they do the basic investigation. They go and try to check out Abigail's house, try to check out the site of the rituals. They don't really come up with much. Abigail and her family are gone. They try to check out Abigail's friends and other like members in the high society circle, and they don't really get much info. Joe goes and starts talking with like the underbelly of the town. Starts talking to like the criminals and crooks and things, and doesn't get too much out of them either. Basically, just that the family's hiding somewhere. And so Joe's like, okay, well, if they were going to be hiding, they would have to hide someplace that's out of the way, but not too out of the way. Someplace inconspicuous. And they discover this part of land that Abigail's family owns, like not on paper, but in a way that matters. And it's like this weird, rundown, dilapidated church. And so Jenny busts out 2 pistols, and Joe's like, all right, well, looks like you got some heaters on you. Well, hopefully whatever we cover inside, you're not going to need those. And so they go inside the church, and they just see a bunch of dust everywhere. Joe's like, there's something off about this dust. It's not dust, it's ash, but it's not regular ash either. And there's a lot of this stuff. It's like ankle deep. And so they just go and they search the underground of the church. And eventually they come across this room where they see these robed figures. And Jenny points out these people are wearing the same robes. They're not the cultists that I saw at the ritual, but they're wearing the same robes that the cultists were wearing. Turns out that one of them is still alive. And he was basically talking about how she left him there, how she cast them aside, abandoned them. And Jenny's like, you're talking about Abigail. And the old man's like, she's a fool. We were fools to follow her, and look at what she's brought upon us after she failed to bring them back. They're trying to wonder, like, what are you talking about exactly? And as she's trying to get more information out of this guy, he starts turning into ash. He just starts literally falling apart. And everyone else around them also starts falling apart into ash. And Jenny, like, sees this weird crystal, and as she peers into it, she sees, like, a Cthulhu, like, horror landscape. Some kind of weird creature out in the distance surrounded by what looks like snow. Also dinosaur bones and stuff like that. And then she sees like a vision of the city with creatures flying in the sky, more weird pillars. And all of a sudden, the ash just starts kicking up. They're freaking out because they're like, there's no wind here. We're underground. Why is all this ash blowing everywhere like a little mini tornado? They can't even see the door. The room's spinning. There's no exit. They see what looks like creatures hiding within the smoke. And then all of a sudden things start moving in the dust. And that's how the issue ends. And Yeah, I would say this is interesting so far. I'm lost at what exactly is going on, what's happening, but that's basically your typical Cthulhu story where you're kind of lost with the main characters. Sometimes you don't even get your answers. I guess I would have liked a little bit more of seeing Jenny's story and having it be a little bit more cohesive because you kind of have to like piece things together about what's going on. Because we see Jenny like at a party with Izzie, and then all of a sudden we just see like flashes of like people in robes and a weird creature, and we kind of cut back and forth between the two timelines before we see her at Joe's office. So you kind of have to put together what she's saying about how my take is that Izzy at this party or whatever, she met Abigail, and that's how she was introduced to the cult. Like maybe she didn't know it was a cult at the time. She thought it was just regular high society members, and maybe they invited her somewhere. And then it turned out that it was a ritual, and they tried to perform some kind of ritual, and things went wrong, and they unleashed something instead. This is just my take, but this is like stuff that I'm getting by piecing together what I've read so far. But yeah, the story doesn't straight up tell us like, all right, here's Jenny's story that she's telling Joe Diamond. Like even her story that she's telling is a little bit kind of everywhere and vague, and you kind of have to piece that together. So like I guess I kind of would have liked a little bit more cohesiveness there. But the story itself, I mean, I love mysteries. I especially love supernatural mysteries like this. This is one of the reasons why I freaking love Cthulhu mythos and Lovecraft and anything within that genre, is because like I love occult stuff. I love paranormal stuff. I love mysteries. So you kind of mix them all together and you have like a mystery that doesn't make sense logically, but has things to do with the paranormal or the supernatural. And I'm all for it. And that's pretty much what this is. The characters themselves, I actually don't mind them. Joe Diamond is kind of your typical gruff, hard-boiled detective from the 20s and 30s and 40s, like your typical noir detective. Jenny is a little bit more headstrong and more like action oriented than girls from back then would be, but not annoyingly so. Like she's not a your girl boss kind of character. She's one of those like she wants to join the case. She's willing to fight if she needs to, but we don't actually see her fighting yet. But I mean, she's willing to bring guns and have to blast her way out if it comes to it. But she's also willing to listen to Joe and follow his lead. And she's not constantly like questioning him or undermining him, which is good. So like right now their partnership is pretty good. I like the fact that they're working off of each other, because that's one thing that they could have done, where they could have had, even though Joe's the detective, they could have had Jenny be the one that's calling the shots and bossing him around and stuff, but they're not doing that, which is good. Instead, they're actually working together, and she's willing to listen to what he has to do, because she's like, you know, this guy is a detective. This is, when it comes to cases and stuff, he has way more experience than me. So she's willing to listen to him, and then she'll throw in her 2 cents or give her opinion on things, but not by undermining him or undercutting him in any way. So they're actually working together. And I like that. I like when we have characters that are actually working together and not constantly bickering, or one's trying to one up the other or constantly undermining the other or anything like that. So I'm glad we don't get that here. So yeah, characters are interesting so far. Again, I would wish that Joe Diamond was a little bit more than your typical cliche hard-boiled noir detective. I would like to see a little bit more, you know, of a different personality from him, or just a little bit more to him to make him more unique and stand out. But other than that, don't have any problems with them. Artwork is fine. Don't really have too many complaints here, other than some of the vagueness. But then again, you kind of get that with Lovecraft and Lovecraft-inspired stories. So hopefully things will start making a lot more sense as we start getting more and more issues coming out as the story progresses. But until then, this seems to be a interesting Lovecraftian mystery. So there you go. There's Arkham Horror, The Terror at the End of Time, issue number 1 from Dark Horse Comics. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.